Hello everyone and welcome back to the World Sprint Championship here at GRDC, and welcome to a very special evening indeed as we're here at Monza for the second round. Now, before we get started, a couple of things to mention. First off, unfortunately we don't have Max joining us this evening. He has had to take a bit of cover over at another opportunity within the agency, so unfortunately he won't be able to join us for tonight or for next week, but round 4 he'll be back right as rain and we'll have the roster that you've come to know and love. But it is just going to be myself tonight, and at the very least we have got the action on the track, which is certainly going to be something special. We have actually got a couple of changes coming out of the first round, particularly in terms of car choices, class choices. There's a couple of switch arounds here and there. So in terms of the field changing groups, changing classes, we do actually have a few drivers who've switched from the hypercar to the LMGT3 group. And that is going to be Starkey, Adam Rios and Dan Wilson. So all three of them are going to be coming out of hypercar. Their standings will effectively be reset and they'll become a part of the LMGT3 standings. So that's a bit of a change up, but things are going to be looking bright and beautiful in Monza as we are about to go trackside for Hyperpole. 10 minutes on the clock. It means everyone's got to bring their A game, and we will be going trackside now to see exactly who has got what it takes to really put on a show. So we're on board with one of the Mercedes AMGs. I do believe this is Iro first things first. And we'll see what he's got to show us, as he's certainly been a driver that I want to see do well. We have got 34 cars joining us trackside this evening for Monza. We have 18 LMGT3s, 11 hypercars and 5 LMP2s. Let's see what the field has to offer. Of course, we do have the lovely roving reporter cam making its return, so we'll call out who is on screen as we go through the session today. So that's Bahrain. We've got Borgso also, as well as Bouquet, Di Catania, Lettonen, and Starkey. So thank you to those 6 drivers who have been able to provide us with an additional little perspective as we head into the sessions and to the racing today. Key areas, it's going to be the 2 Lesmos. You want to get a really good breakaway out of there into Ascari. First couple of corners are going to be very treacherous come race time, so I know that the team over at GRDC has already posted a warning about being careful, making sure you don't overdo it, and you're not going 3 wide into the first corner. If you go 3 wide, someone is going to have 2 wheels on the grass, and once they hit the brakes, might as well be game over. So let's see if the drivers are going to really be showing us what they're made of tonight, as Monza is going to give us about 3 good laps, I'd say. This is Iro of the LMGT3 class. Let's see what he has up his sleeve. Coming up to the line now, and the first laps begin. We also check in with the hypercars as we switch our timing board. It was Nepoteket in the hypercars being one to watch after a great opening performance. Although Iro is going to bow out off the first corner, he's not going to be able to hold it through. So we switch over to Alistair Ramsey. He gets a 36.6 out the first sector. It's actually one of the slower sector ones, as Timothy Goya seems to be the one to watch out of that. 36.2, fastest sector one I've seen posted from the LMGT3s. Meanwhile, fastest sector one is going to be for Nepoteket, as the hypercars are now making their way through to the end of Sector 2 and just coming out of, I do believe, they are just, coming out of Ascari and into Parabolica. See, in the Porsche 963, looking sharp, looking angry. A very nice Sim Racer Store livery with that lime green there. A 2-tone look for the Porsche, but first times on the boards, Nepoteket leads with a 35.2. Also checking with LMP2s as they're coming up to the line pretty sharpish as well. Nepoteket seems to really be the car to beat, as He's already head and shoulders above many of the rest. Richard Cook getting a 41.8, but that's going to be displaced as Tomasz Lovrek is coming through with a 41.1. Ramsey up to the line now. Let's check back in with him in the Aston Martin as things are going to get pretty frenetic quite quickly. First laps on the board, and for the GT3s, it's Ramsey in second as Biddle goes faster, and Timothy Goya goes faster still in the McLaren, 50.3. Initial showings are quite impressive from many of the drivers out on the field. We do still have some yet to set times. For example, Borgerson is not having a time just yet on the hypercars. A little bit out of character for hyper, but there's going to be Wazerock just coming through, 42.0. He's going to be 5th fastest out of LMP2. And for now, is going to be seeing if he can find more juice out of that Ligier chassis. Going a little bit too deep there, so most likely a cool-down lap this one's going to be. Setting himself up for the next one. Is Borgerson, though, coming down and looking like he's on actually really good time here. As he's lapping with a decent Sector 1 and 2, could be on track for one of the top 5. Remember, he's got 11 other cars to deal with, or 10 other cars. But coming up to the line, it's a P6 in the end. It's a 36.4, so just half a tenth shy of the top 5, as Bonaventura is going to be the gatekeeper on this one. We'll see if the LMGT3s have got a bit more in the tank as well. Sadie Catania going through Lesmo 1 and 2 now. Makes his way under a little bit of curbing, but that's okay. Push the limits. It's ideal temperatures and ideal race conditions here at Monza tonight, so the drivers are really going to have the best chance of bringing everything to the track. Looking very swift indeed. That's a nice Ascari. He's slightly up on Delta, about 1.5 tenths, so could be on the cards here for even as high as a P3. Tanya just needs to bring this one home. See from his perspective as well, you see the focus coming in, a little bit of snapping. Just wobbling a tiny bit there, but full focus up to the line now, and it's a tiny time loss. It's not going to be enough to bring a record home, as he lost most of his time in Sector 3. Going to stay down in P7. I think we just had Borgso across the line there. Yes, we did. It's a 37.451. But there's going to be plenty others now making their way. Mathieu Bouquet in a very bright Peugeot 9X8. I believe that's the Mark II spec with the rear wing there. Or, I don't know, did they actually denote it as a Evo spec, as a Mark II spec? Or did they just continue to call it the 9X8 and it just has a wing now? Let me know. More experienced LM pundits than I may be able to answer that, but it's a new record for Bouquet. It's not enough to jump, but it's going to be enough to really impress and get him closer to that front row, as Patouche is going to be in that front row and ahead of Nepotekic's initial time by 1/10 of a second. Great stuff here as he pilots that Cadillac to pole position for now. Roland Sux is going to be another pole position holder with a bit of an upset as he comes into the pits. It's a 39.937. We just had Mike Cooper come across the line with a 50.242 and is going to be displaced as Timothy Goya regains the pole position for GT3. Letonen is a close second in his Porsche, and Iavarone coming up to the line now, 50.351, but losing a lot of time through Parabolica. Practically shed his entire 2/10 advantage. So no improvement here. As Emma, she comes across in the BMW and looking sharp in 5th position. You can see the rest of the field on your screens now, as we are looking at quite a tight field spread across particularly the GT3s. Hypercars, you're looking at about a second, and LMP2, that is your entire grid in that top 5. Because there is only 5 of them, so that is your entire field spread of about 2 seconds there, which actually is, I think, one of the tighter spreads. In fact, is the smallest spread of times out of all 3 classes. It's a little bit deceptive, but still good showing of pace. Here's Stijink in the M4 Evo spec, making his way down, and gotta say, really nice. That dark blue with the orange accents, very nice colour combination. Now, since we got custom liveries in our servers, it's been an absolute joy to see the kind of designs. Really has brought LMU a tier up from where it used to be compared to where we were just running stock liveries for everybody. Really does bring things up a notch. Stay on board with Stijink, see if he has got something more to give here. Trying his best, but I think this one has been converted to an installation lap as he is significantly down on deltas, and you see 51.7. He needs to get into the 50s if he wants to get into that top 10. It's Carl Benton as a 50.8 in 10th place. Let's see if there's more hypercars on the trot coming across the line, as qualifying is coming to an end here, folks. Time is running out and the drivers have to bring their best now. No excuses. Borgerson is going to be out in 6th position. Moffat just starting a lap in time, and really looking and sounding nice in that Valkyrie. That custom accents, is that custom paint job? I can't actually tell, because the stock colour is that British Racing Green, but also I feel it's got to be done. You've got to have that Valkyrie in British Racing Green. It's such a beautiful colour combination. I wouldn't quite call it iconic just yet. It hasn't been out long enough. But it's already getting there for me. Same with how you'd expect an Alpine to have that sort of nice, rich blue, as we see on board now with Holstenius. A524 looking just as good. We see most of the field having headed into the pits by this point. It is just conclusions of final runs. Holstenius looking very fast, and it could have a chance with a major jump here. Just needs to bring it to the line. Quarter of a second up. Where's that going to land him? That is going to be putting him in a... Wait, no. I don't think it was valid. Oh, and you see the GRDC logo. That is custom. That is custom from Moffat, and very nice indeed. Yeah, no improvement from Holstenius. I don't think it was a valid lap, unfortunately. So that's kind of kneecapped his performance. Otherwise, slight improvement from Yavaroni, but not enough to cross that half-tenth and get him up into the second row for GT3. Kingsbury is going to bow out of his attempt, and Rios just parking up across the line. That is just going to leave Bonaventura on track, and he has just finished his session. So, this is where we leave things, folks. In terms of your grid, you can see it's a tight stack, 10 cars. James Quinn is in the pits, I think, along with Waldridge. So I don't think they are going to be joining us trackside today. We'll be starting with 32 racers by the sounds of things. But you can see there is your roster, and there is your timings for Hypercar. We'll take a look as well over with the team of LMP2s and GT3s, but let's take your starting grid order. Nepoteki and Bouquet in row 1, as Patouche and Gelino are going to be in row 2. Cadillac and Porsche themselves. There's going to be the Ferraris as Bonaventura and Borgerson complete row 3. Then row 4 is going to be going to Dan Moffat in the Valkyrie and Holstenius in the Alpine. Closing things up is going to be Paul Garnham in the Toyota and another Ferrari piloted by Borgso. And then you have James Quinn, who is, I believe, starting in the pit lane, but otherwise won't be starting with us. Roland Sukes is going to be in P12, leader of LMP2. And then Thomas Loverick along with Richard Cook. That's going to be row 7. And then second and third for LMP2, alongside Richard Vickers and Alex Weisrock. Completing your Ligier order. Then you get to the GT3s. Timothy Goyer leads alongside Mike Cooper in row 9. And in row 10, completing your 20, is going to be Timmy Lettonen and Alistair Ramsey in the Porsche and the Vantage. Clemente Iavarone and Emariu going to be 21st and 22nd in the McLaren and the BMW. And then it's going to be Jordan Forty in the Vantage and Salvo Di Catania in the Ferrari. Following on from that, we have Biddle, another Vantage on the field with the McLaren number 28 of Kyle Benton. Closely closing in is going to be Kingsbury and Starkey, however. They're the Vantage and the Porsche there. Rios and Barham are going to be just behind in the Mercedes AMG and BMW. Then you have Stijink and Visuri, along with Dan Wilson and a non-starter. Oh no, I think we have Waldridge, who is going to be starting with us. It doesn't indicate as him being in the pits, but that is 17 rows of racers, and that is your starting order for today's action, folks. You know the drill from round 1, but if it's your first time here, World Sprint Championship, it's going to be a heck of a race. 75-minute race, 28 degrees, no rain in sight here as the sun crests over the Italian circuit. We're here in Monza. It's a drag race as much as it is a race course, but let's find out who is going to be playing at chicken and who's going to be too soon, Junior. It's going to be 75 minutes and we are hot for round 2. Immediately, Nepoteki is going to tuck in to the right side, close as he can, squeezing Patush, boxing him in just behind. As Nepotekit's up ahead, there's going to be Bouquet, going to go through in the Porsche, but onto the inside there is a little bit of braking and smoke coming out of one of the Ferraris. I believe that's Bonaventura. Yes, it is. He's going to really put pressure down. Bouquet Lovrek is going to be off the circuit, or is he? It looks like there's... Yes, he went off the circuit, had to take to the escape road and tuck in a bit further away. Weisrock and Vickers are having a major issue with the start of their race. And you can see there is debris caught up in that cream egg. Not looking good in terms of starts. Chaos into the chicanes here, as everyone's trying to file in, get some early spots. A bit of a wobble under throttle. You can even see further up ahead Di Catania on the defense, as Ramsey is going to be hot on his heels. We'll see some of the fights, some of the jousts. They were on board with Di Catania on the wheel cam as well, so we'll keep an eye on that as we switch to the front. You can see Nepotekit has got an early gain. About half a second to Patush's Bouquet puts pressure on him in the Peugeot. Quite a frenetic start, as there's going to be a little bit of drama maybe into Ascari there. Di Catania is feeling the heat, feeling the pressure for sure, as many drivers are looking at chances for overtakes. We jump towards Starkey as well. Starkey on the mini cam now. You see he's hot on the heels of Adam Rios. Remember, both of these drivers switched from hypercar, so they're having to unlearn what they did in round 1, and they're going to have to readjust their driving style. A little bit of unlearning needed. Starkey is going to be now chasing on Eero, but the three of them are going to be fighting hard. As we check in, and Borgso is going to be our mini camera switch now. Starkey managing to get through. Piloting the Porsche in an interesting turn of events. I don't think I've seen him, but he has got the Cuts livery. I don't exactly know the full name of it, but you know exactly the one we're on about. Meanwhile, there's Barham as well. Barham is there. You can see Bouquet putting on a lot of pressure to Patush right now. He's not going to let him breathe an inch. This fight is going to be getting hot pretty quickly. That V12 will never get old. Just hear the hints of it as Moffat comes up to the start-finish line. But we can see there is a little bit of fighting further down. Bahrain is going to really be pushing as hard as he can through Ascari and is going to get past. Nicely done from him there. I don't think Biddle is going to be letting him go just yet, but certainly is something to be proud of. We're going to switch gears as we have quite an interesting turn of events. This is Borgerson into the pits early days, and Goya ahead of Vickers and Wiserock. They're both going to be drag racing each other though, chasing at that P4 and knowing whoever can get past this GT3 first is going to be in with a serious opportunity to get away. Well, you see Bahrain is going to be under pressure as Biddle is going to go side by side with him, chase him into that chicane, just gets by him. Looks like Vickers is going to be the one to come out victorious here, at least early days. Wiserock is going to file in just behind, but has to take a narrow line because of the McLaren. Hotly contested position between these two. One that I would not miss for the life of me. We switch over to Bouquet temporarily as we check in with the likes of Starkey, Rios, Bahrain. Take a moment for our GT3 racers. As Rios has got a very shiny Mercedes AMG livery. I wonder if Hero can see his reflection in the back of that car. Actually, you need pretty good graphics settings for that. We do have an issue in the form of Wooldridge. Now, Wooldridge has impacted the wall on the inside, it looks like, as he's completely lost his wing. Beforehand, he was sharing some of his concerns with fellow drivers about a pace deficit. So, I would not be surprised if he got in his own head and maybe pushed that car a little bit too far there. Unfortunate to see, but even so, making it to the track is a victory in its own right, I like to say. Even giving it a go in the race. If it doesn't pan out, so be it. At least you can say you made it to that racetrack and you gave it your everything. That's the medal you got to wear. But we got two, no, three wide. Okay, this could be dangerous. There's going to be a tight squeeze. Rios on the right, Staging in the middle, Starkey on the left. Starkey's trying to get out of the way of this as he knows going three wide into this corner will end in tears. He's just going to be pimping up ahead and he's going to get the apex cut into that top position as Staging gets displaced down into 14th. Rios in 13th here. Very tight run. That could have been difficult, but well handled, well navigated. Switching back to Bahrain as well. You can see he was just there in the foreground, but he's right on the back of that Vantage. And you can see he's gone a little bit into the gravel. This might be a chance with the BMW here. He's hot on the proximity sensor. They're side by side into Lesmo 1. The BMW just going to be taking a better line through Lesmo 1 and into Lesmo 2. Confirms the overtake. And he's up into 8th position with Biddle in the wings. Though he's not going to be done yet, because if there's anything we know about these two is that they never stay static for long. So coming up to 10 minutes into this race and already looking like the fireworks are out and showing no signs of slowing down. We switch over to Bouquet as it looks like Bouquet is coming up hot on a driver here. They briefly was sneaking in close, or at least the gaps closing between himself and Nepotekit. Hattush has been displaced all the way down to 4th in an interesting turn of events, so have to inquire a little bit on what happened there. There was some kind of unforced error or something a little bit more going on. See Emma trying to chase Biddle once again. You can see in the minicam is getting past through that first chicane. I think these two are going to be having that back and forth for a long time, because no one can really get a breakaway compared to the other. There we do have Lettonen's perspective as well in the green Porsche just ahead. And he's got a clear road in front of him. Goya is 5 seconds clean and half a second faster on the fastest lap. So it's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up. Priority is going to be more about keeping Emma behind him. She's going to be putting on a lot of pressure. Similar story for Di Catania. It's going to be 2.5 seconds clear. But 40 is in his rear view and has been living there for a couple of laps. We've got to keep the awareness at an all-time high. LMP2 is seeing itself reach a state of equilibrium, bit of calm, as Vickers is going to be a second ahead of Weissrock, but otherwise marooned from the other 3 contestants. Sukes has got a 5-second gap to Cook, with Loverick not too far behind. We'll see if Loverick has a little bit of a plan to execute on the rest of this race. 12 tyres to use over this weekend. I wonder if anyone is going with an unorthodox tyre choice. Oh, a little bit of wobble there. Not looking the cleanest. Looks like Borgerson is on the recovery following his pit stop. He is a lap down, but still has a chance here to make it up if this is his genuine pit stop and he's going to be running a lot deeper into this stint. Some kind of lap 1 issue that he had to resolve. We'll see what he makes of it. Is he making his way past some of the multi-class traffic and doing so in a clean and safe way, which is what we want to see here. They're going to pop the other cam away for the meantime, as all of our roving reporter targets have got a little bit of space to themselves, so we'll give them some room to breathe. We'll check in back in with them shortly. Iavarone on the back of Emma, though, and Emma's got a bit of a difficult choice on her hands. Does she continue to try pushing to get back a Lettonen, or does she focus on the defense as the McLaren is getting the nose in? And oh no, contact! Contact made, go slow, second contact, both of them spin. Emma is completely rotated round as trying to rejoin the track safely is going to result in Bahrain, and actually Biddle might be getting caught behind this other BMW here for a second. Rejoining at race pace as quick as she can. Iavarone, meanwhile, taking a bit more of a hit as they're down into P10. Not letting them give up the ghost, though, as Kingsbury is on their left. In fact, getting a very nice execute on Parabolica. Get himself up into P9. Good recovery work, but it's a darting to the inside, actually covering. That's going to be Dan Moffat trying to get past. So that could have been a dangerous situation there, as the Valkyrie is screaming past as many GT3s as he possibly can, heading into the corner. Oh no, Biddle going too hot, too wide, and has to take to the escape as it is waiting for a safe rejoin. Tucks in on the inside line, coming out the chicane. That is a safe rejoin right there, textbook. That's what you want to be doing. You can see there's also the Porsche getting caught in traffic. Biddle once again off the side of the track. We'll see as Garnham really is getting stuck in a lot of this GT3 traffic. As Adam Rios, Kingsbury as well in the sides, just trying to get around the traffic quick. You can see it's a similar story with Bonaventura just up ahead in the Ferrari. They're both kind of getting squeezed and they don't have the opportunity to get past. They're much faster, particularly coming out of corners, but they can't execute, they can't use it. Particularly feel for Bonaventura because he's got not only the pressure of getting past these GT3s, but has got Garnham right there, knowing what could happen if he takes too long. Garnham has closed in within 1/10 of a second. He's going to go for it. It's going to be a tight squeeze. As you can see, another perspective on the fight here. Bahrain is trying to get past Emma. at the same time through Parabolica just in the background. Well executed here for Garnham. Bonaventura down into P8, and the Toyota is looking to be on the defense. Will he go for an attack into the chicane? No. The Toyota has it secured. At least for now, Garnham is safe. Wiserock, meanwhile, trying to catch up to Vickers. Now up to half a second, as this looks like their best lap so far. Massive gains on this lap. Would this be the start of a bit of a... not a renaissance, that's not right, not quite the right word, but a resurgence, I'd say. For Wiserock, following a difficult start for himself and Vickers. Gonna get his new push, new spark. And I wonder if there could be a new fastest lap personal for himself in there. Waldridge returned to the pits following his loss of the rear wing, and I don't know if he's going to be coming out. Looks like he is retired out in the pit lane. We are down to 17 cars in the GT3 class. 10 in Hyper. Bonaventura, despite odds, still trying his best to get something out of this one. Trying to get a bit of an attack. But it looks like there's been an issue as the local yellow flag was called. Trying to deduce the source. Oh no, Kingsbury! Kingsbury just DNF'd. I think he had a collision with another car. I have to see what Kingsbury has to say about that one, but there is Emma tucking off to the side of the field. And almost looking like they're limping the car back. Yes, Emma's going into the pits. I don't really know what the game plan is here, because something's gone horribly wrong for the BMW. Meanwhile, Stijink on the back of Visuri and Starkey side by side into the first corners. Gonna cycle through some of our cameras here and see who we should be watching here. Lettonen gaining a second on Timothy Goya's lead, but you see two of the LMP2s making their way around now. Starkey is hot on the heels of Rios. Those two are going to fight a little bit further up the road. We'll see what these racers have in store. There's Biddle going completely to the dirt. Cutting the chicane there. Wonder if that was an error or if there's something to be more concerned. Oh, Iro! No! Iro is off and lost the wing as well. Completely spinning it, I think just a little bit of oversteer, snapped the other way, and boom, into the weeds, into the gravel. That is it for Iro's race effort. We have Emma also DNFing out of the race. Second DNF in the session. Real shame to see. And I think it's been a bit of a chaotic race for her. We'll see what happens. Not sure what the vibe is, whether there was a contact with another driver, and this is or saying, right, save the mental, come back next week refreshed. Sometimes drivers just need to do that. You know, limping his Mercedes AMG as best as he can through. I wonder if drivers will have choice words for each other, or, but of course, everyone, keep it civil. Sometimes mistakes happen, sometimes that's racing, as long as you're cordial about it. And if you make a mistake, own up to it. Simple as that. So we will see inevitably Iro heading into the pits. As this is going to be Bahrain hot on the defense as Carl Benton is very much sniffing out a chance. Whoa, that is one of the Mercedes going extremely slow. That is going to be Waldridge. I think trying to yield off for some of the other cars as Waldridge is staying out Well, coming out of the pits there. I'm not really sure what's going on here with the Mercedes, as it seems like he's tailing off. He's not really pushing as much as the other cars, so either there's a kind of technical issue, or he's just cruising, well, not cruising, but going significantly slower than the others, which is actually a lot more dangerous, because then you become unpredictable and you don't know where you're going to be spat out the corner. I'm a little bit concerned for Aldridge right now, and we'll see what the race holds. Between the two DNFs and Quinn, non-starter, we are down to 31 cars as we make our way into the next phase of the race. We are 20 minutes deep, and so far Nepotek, it looks nigh untouchable in the hypercars. Ronan Suk's much of the same, as he's only grown his gap to Lovric into 8.5 seconds and counting. Though Lovric did get past Cook, which is an impressive feat in its own right. Meanwhile, on the GT3s, Goya is going to be significantly ahead, but Lehtinen has shown signs of closing that gap. So we'll continue to monitor that Porsche as we head through this phase of the race, see if there's anything more that he has to offer. As you can just see Goya in the distance now, going under the footbridge, heading into Ascari. Just going to be slightly out of sight, but certainly not out of mind for these racers. Zero returning out of the pits now, fresh wing, hopefully fresh confidence, as he's going to be having a lot of work to do to recover his race. Just something I've noticed as well, he's got the number 992 registered, but he's number 61 on his actual car. So I wonder if there is just a lack of custom livery or what's going on there. We shall see. Also nice to see the actual custom numbers. And oh, wait a second, who was that? That was Borgso. That was Borgso. Excuse the camera freak out. He's gone completely off in Lesmo 1. Luckily no casualties. Still a difficult situation. He's going to have to peel himself out of fast. Bonaventura on the back of Holstenius, meanwhile, Alpine v Ferrari. Coming into Parabolica. Let's see what they have in store. Check around with some of our other racers as well. The Borgso on the recovery now, pushing extra hard. Try and make up some of the time deficit that he unfortunately lost. So Bouquet still racing as hard as he can, as Nepotek is going to be within a second and potentially within reach, but here goes Bonaventura into that first chicane. Beautiful execution coming in from the Ferrari, and a well-earned P7. That was a very tight line, but handled masterfully. Di Catania got a bit of a pocket of his own, but is under a lot of pressure from 40. I think they're going to be coming up in the proximity sensor. Yes, you can just see it. So many other cars teeing up for moves that may happen in the next couple of laps. But we'll have to bide our time and be patient for now. See a couple of traffic sets mingling here. You can see a lot of hypercars making their way round GT3s. LMP2s also getting in the mix. Just a bit of insight as well. Looks like Emma and Simon both remember DNF'd out of the session. It was confirmed due to contact. But we might also have a bit of an issue, as if we remember back to round one, and rightly called in the chat, the Cadillac had thermal issues. It had serious thermal issues to the point where it overheated during the race. Now, the only hope is that the car survives, but I don't know if it will. I don't know if it will survive, as the Cadillac isn't the most popular choice, but it is certainly a good car when it isn't overheating. But I'm concerned for Patouche, as the thermals might still be broken, or at the very least might still be very difficult to control. Only hope that Patouche is managing this as best as he can, because he's still got about 30 laps left of running, and at Monza you are going to be leaning on the power pretty much entirely throughout the lap. You are looking at the most power circuit to ever power circuit. And that roaring V8 has got to stand for something. Let's hope it's not about getting too hot. Here's Borgso into the pits now, following his slight off earlier. I think opting to take the stop now might be a smart move. Stock up on virtual energy, get the tyres that you want to take to the end, and run the final stint long, undercut your rivals. Best damage control scenario that you could get. And a testament to Sooks' ability, we are seeing him getting further to the point where he's overtaking hypercars, despite Borgso being in the pits. He is actually putting on a serious show in terms of pace. Very rare you get to see this kind of in-class dominance. We are taking a quick look around it, almost half an hour through. Benton on the side of Bahrain. Monster Energy McLaren swooping its way through Parabolica, but both of them holding a great amount of speed. In fact, I think almost at complete parity heading into the start-finish line and into lap 15. Slight tuck-in, trying to get a bit of slipstream without compromising their braking and their line. Benton is going to feel a little bit of the squeeze, as there goes Borgso. Doesn't really have anywhere to go, and that's going to be the opportunity that Bahrain was looking for. Starkey also on the back line there. See, there is going to be Di Catania in the pits now. Minor time adjustment there. Lettonen is once again falling away, so 5.6 seconds gap. Bouquet is down to a 2-second gap to Nepotekit. So both the leaders in those respective classes are managing to get away quite significantly. So we've already seen it with Roland in P1 of LMP2. the others now looking to either find some recovery or find some peace. Most of the field now having spread itself out a good chunk now. The exception, Bahrain and Bentham. Into the first chicane once again. Bentham tries to size something up on the outside. Not wanting to get boxed in and repeat his mistake. I've got our third DNF of the session, unfortunately, as Hero decided to get to bow out of the race. Hero making the judgment call, I think, after that first incident and after losing the wing and that much time. It's that judgment of what happens to the rest of the race. Is it worth continuing? And there's also a little bit of a, shall we say, spirited discussion with the drivers. Some reporting issues, others discussing some of the contact they had. But of course, worth mentioning that there is stewarding, post-race stewarding. So if there have been any contacts or any unfavourable situations, raise that to the stewards post-race, file it appropriately. The stewards will look at everything from lap 1 and whatever is mid after that point. You see quite tight and dense fight of GT3 cars here. A couple of racers co-mingling with different sets. You can see Alistair Ramsey is going to be splitting Starkey and Benson right now. And remember that blue flags in this context only really apply to multi-class overtakes. If you are on equal pace, you don't have to dart and dive out the way or have to massively change your behaviour in the same way as if, say, a hypercar was chasing you. We do have a local yellow coming out. We're trying to dictate what's happening there. Rios, 4th DNF, and Waldridge is round. I think just waiting for a safe rejoin point. Yeah, that is going to be yet another DNF on this race. Big shame here. It looks like Aldridge is limping his car. Genuinely limping it now, compared to where before he was just running slow. Seems very much worse for wear. Back to our little GT3 mini Grand Prix. But also Holstenius and Bonaventura continuing to joust and fight each other. We'll get Bahrain on the minicam and see what we can detect. As the session rolls through. The next stage is going to be vitally important for the drivers. Getting left in the weeds a little bit, but we'll return to them soon. Starkey, Benton, both trying to chase Bahrain down, but also switching over to Bouquet. You can see he's got a lot closer now to Nepotekit in the lead of Hypercar. He's previously been untouched, but he's once again managed to crawl within that second window. So we might see a fight just yet, and in fact I think the GT3s might be proving to become a part of that story, as here comes the two. You can see them chasing each other down now, running very similar colour schemes, both of their cars taking that two-tone black and lime green accent. In fact, I think they are running together. So I wonder if we will see fighting between the two, or a bit more of a cooperative effort on the course. Let's find out. As you can see, he's very close here. That is Ramsey or Biddle. Getting a bit more insight, looks like Iro retired out in part due to some action by Kingsbury. Although it's not yet determined what that action is, and both drivers have been very cordial in the drivers' chat, so good to see that sportsmanship at play. Back to say that wasn't the even unrelated to the incident that took place that put Iro in the wall. That was just a unforced error, I believe. Even if in the face of DNFs, being good sports about it. That's what we're about here at GRDC. So Waldridge has returned to the pits following his off-track excursion. Not sure what his game plan is in terms of completing this race, but you can see the fight for hypercar lead is still very much on. Bouquet darts to the right, tries to take apex on Parabolica, is keeping it nice and narrow, but will we see a switchback from the Porsche? Getting a very nice run indeed, but great acceleration on the outset as well. Nepoteke is going to be on the inside, but Bouquet is going to match him. The two go side by side into the first chicane, and this is going to be the sparks of a real fight happening here. Both trying to outbrake each other ever so slightly, staying side by side. Contact made through turn one, and the Porsche has to take a little bit of a wider line, but Bouquet, accelerating hard out of the chicane, has got that first position after much trial, tribulation and waiting. He's got it, and he's now in the lead of the race for Hyper. Beautiful display of racing there, and even if it got a little bit topsy-turvy by a certain point, did still see the drivers performing at their best. Not being afraid to get those elbows out. Show us what they're made of. So we'll see Marco Gelino into the box alongside Richard Cook, Alistair Ramsey. Waldridge is going to be making his way out of the pits in, I'm sure, a moment, as he is indicated as being pitting out now. We also have Weisrock pitting in for the LMP2s. A bit of a shake-up on the field. There are a couple more yellows also showing themselves. We've got a bit of insight in exactly what happened with Iro as well. They spun a second time and lost my wing again, and decided I'm more of a danger to others than I would like tonight, and bowed out. Well, Iro, first off, you still brought it to the racetrack and gave it your best, so that's all anyone could ever ask for, and fully respect the decision as well. If you didn't feel comfortable on that racetrack, seeing it through to the end, then so be it. Fully respect, appreciate that decision, especially considering it's an altruistic angle. Not wanting to harm the races of your fellow racers on the course, which I can fully respect. There's going to be Iavarone on the back of 40 here into P3. So Rios apparently having a 10-mile-per-hour touch on the wall that, quote, exploded the wing to Narnia. That is slight paraphrasing. I'm not going to quote it fully because we are still on official broadcast after all. But you can fill in the gaps. Certainly unfortunate, and does make a bit more sense why DNF'd in that case. Feels like at that point that is an issue with the game's damage model. If such a light touch is going to obliterate your entire rear wing. So these cars should be a bit more hard wearing. So yeah, Verona coming in hot. How's the rest of the field doing? Let's do our roving reporter check-in. First off, Bahrain. He's on to a bit of a free space, as he's got second to make up before he can catch up to Starkey, who is himself on the hunt for Kyle Benson. He managed to get a bit of a break, and he's into the top 5, following a couple of pit stop change-ups too. Borgso, he's got himself into a neat pocket of his own. He's cleared himself from Borgerson, and has now got nearly an entire minute to catch up, should he wish to chase on Bonaventura. So, best port of call for him might be just seeing the race out to its conclusion from there. Bouquet, lead of the race. Very impressive. And still holding it too, as he manages to float about a second's gap through Ascari, and is keeping Nepoteki at bay for the most part. Di Catania is having a bit of a rough race here. Now, I understand that he had issues as well as many other drivers, but he's still charging forward, still pushing through, and is currently sat in 12th position for LMGT3, finishing off with Letonen, who has brought down the gap significantly to Goya. Was floating in the 4 to 6 second mark, and now sits at 2.9 to 3 seconds of gapping. So, major improvement coming in from Letonen in the Porsche there. Certainly impressed. And we'll see if he maybe has the chance, after all is said and done and comes to the final 10 minutes, if he has the chance to take a shot at P1. But let's not get ahead of ourselves too much here. We'll see how the drivers feel post-race, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of thoughts and feelings exchanged. Checking in briefly with our GT3s, you can see that Starkey made up a lot of time. See Benson actually going quite narrow. I think trying to break the slipstream at every possible opportunity. Just trying to get clear. Now, Monza is a very difficult track to actually get right. Especially to get right at a high level of consistency like we've seen with some of our leaders. So, I am just as impressed as everyone on track as I am with the leaders, because particularly some of those chicanes can be deadly to handle if you're not prepared and if you're not taking a very optimal line, you know exactly how the car's going to react. It can get scary. You don't want to be fighting the car and second guessing your confidence. That's when accidents happen. Monza, surprisingly high, deceptively difficult track on the difficulty scale. You see a smooth sweep through Ascari. Starkey's making a heck of an improvement on previous times. His Delta is rocketing up 0.7 of a second. Massive stuff here. This is an interesting thing that I've witnessed over a couple of races now, and not just in the World Sprint Championship. I've seen it in LMGT3 Challenge and many others, but one thing that's become abundantly clear is that drivers will hit a certain groove, and then once they do, that's when their pace starts to rapidly increase in a big way. It's almost as if something clicks within the drivers, and before you know it, they are firing their way past the others on the course. Brief yellow coming out. Benton in the pits. Starkey has inherited a P5 position as a result. Although he's got 20 seconds to make up if he wants to get any further past. You see, meanwhile, Patouche and actually Bouquet is into the pits himself. Although he's coming out now, he's going to be losing that lead that he held on so desperately for. So what exactly is his game plan here? Yeah, that is the question. What is his game plan? Well, most of the hypercars have come in now. Patouche, Hostenius, Garnham, they're all into the pits, most likely down to virtual energy concerns. You can see even the GT3s are going to be joining in. Lettonen, Forte, Iavarone. You can even see, I think, a couple of other cars in the background too who are going to be joining. See, Nepoteke is running clear, although stuck behind Starkey. He's going to have to tuck into the pits as well. Starkey following him in, so a bit of a Pyrrhic victory heading into the pit lane. It's a mass exodus as everyone is jumping on for either tyres or fuel or energy. Yeah, I've seen some of the stories about some of the contacts made between drivers. We do see that with Nepoteke in the pits, this is the chance here for Bouquet to show if that undercut is in his favour. So coming through Parabolica now. Looks like he's gone for either a hard full set or a hard medium mix. Looks like those inside tyres are a shade lighter. Let's see where Nepoteke comes out, though. Nepoteke is going to jump him in the pits. Jumping him in the pits there. Excellent strategy execution from the Porsche, as Bouquet looked like he was untouchable. So yes, maybe taking just a little bit less energy. Let's check on our energy readings. Oh, he's about the same. He just stretched that gap and stretched the energy. Goya's got a major issue though. Goya going in and out of the pits. I do believe that that is a penalty being served. Though despite that, saying that, he's gone to the escape road here. Practically limping across. He's going to be staying in P1. But in a sea of other cars. And inevitably going to have to take that second, well, technically first, but second stop into the pit lane. Where will that leave him? I think this situation has rapidly flipped. Lettonen does have a much more substantial chance. You can see Goya is off the side of the track. He's bowing out completely by the looks of things. He's just stopped through the first chicane. Don't know what's going on, and there you go. DNF for Timothy Goya, once leader, now falling to the bottom, and P14 for LMGT3. That's going to leave Lettonen in the lead of the set, in the lead of the class, and all of a sudden priorities have changed. Lino coming up on the back of Paul Garnham here. They're in separate races, but that's not going to stop them from fighting so hard. I think with the stop and go, that completely compromised otherwise a very lean running strategy. And oh no, just see the confirmation. Didn't get fuel in the pits, and so he exited the pits with 0.2%. So I think he knew as soon as he exited that pit lane with an empty tank, his writing was on the wall. Real shame there. Our 5th DNF of the session. Down to 27 cars now. 5 DNFs, 1 non-starter, and I think Waldridge is just going to be staying in the pits till the end of the race here. Final 25 minutes on the clock, and it looks like Nepotekit, despite an initial showing that it might not be going his way, he's quickly had a resurgence and has stomped himself back into the top of the boards. Bouquet is going to be close behind, and he's not going to be giving up for anything as the two run together, and in fact Bouquet gets within a second almost. But it's Patouche that I'm worried about. The thermal issues in the Cadillac. Hopefully they have been resolved, because otherwise Patouche is in some serious trouble. Maximise the cooling, be on the safe side, take a bit of a time hit if you have to. In fact, 20 seconds down on Bouquet, I think that's exactly what he's done. Some interesting information on Waldridge as he actually makes his way out the pits. Turns out it is a technical issue. It's his throttle pedal. So there's an issue with the detection of some kind, so he's not actually getting 100% throttle when he pushes it 100%. It's teetering more to the 40-50% mark by the sounds of things. So that is going to be what's happening with him, and even despite that, still running out on track. So I think that might be the answer to the performance woes that Waldridge has been having, why he's been losing to time that he has. Yeah, so it looks like Monza's not the favourite for many. Goy, I see you in the chat there, say confirming stop and go for energy limit, but then didn't give you fuel. Yeah, 0.2%. That's a brutal. And you got Adam Rios commenting about the damage he suffered and the wings, the exploding wing quote. Meaning that he would require another stop to finish the race, so made the judgment call to retire. Never want to see anyone retire. Seriously, this has given a bit of a silver lining for the likes of Iavarone, who was chasing a podium, and now he's got one by default. So I wonder if he's now going to be pushing for P2, or whether he might just duck back a little bit and focus on running together with 40. We'll see if these two want to duke it out, or whether they're going to be playing it patient. I'm going to check in with our roving reporter once again. First off, Bahrain, currently sat in P6 with a large gap between himself and Starkey. Is not going to be making it up anytime soon. Neither is Starkey to the back of Mike Cooper. 8.1 seconds away is going to be quite an uphill battle. But he's in P5, so certainly a big gain that he has seen over the course of this race. Also is going to continue his charge forward. Large gap between himself still and Holstenius. But he's keeping consistent, and I think that's what he needs more than anything, as Bouquet is teetering between half a second and 2.5 seconds. He's looking very volatile right now in his position in P2. Patouche is going to be well away in P3, so not a threat. However, I am concerned if he's going to push it too far and maybe get himself in trouble trying to get Nepoteket's crown off of him. Catania in P11 now, another benefactor of the amount of DNFs that we've received over the course of the race. And even if he hasn't really got a chance to catch up to Biddle, needing to make up almost an entire minute, he is still going to be keeping calm and pushing forward regardless. Finally, Letonen as the leader, and it's running nice and smooth, looking undisturbed, and can now just focus on putting on his best show, his best times. Navarone still onto the back of 40 right now, challenging with anything he can, although doesn't make the dart out to either side, so I think he's waiting, coming out of Parabolica, to make his move. Tiaroni not quite holding the pace. Looks like that Vantage is able to peel on him. Going into that start-finish straight. You see Moffat sniffing out a chance, but not going for it. I think a bit too risky there to try and get past these two GT3s. Moffat really going for it on the outside. Swift push. And you can see a little handshake almost as Moffat flashes his lights, having got past, almost as if to say thank you for staying consistent and online. And a reciprocation from 40. Again, little sportsmanship nod there. Drivers seem to be having issues with the Mercedes AMG. It seems like their rear end is really unstable, because we saw multiple cars spinning off and having the rear end kick out on them, resulting in, like we saw with the Eero, major damage or major time losses. Wonder if there is a issue at large with the car. I guess that's not for us to speculate on, only something that we can figure and find out in due course. We haven't really given much attention to the LMP2s, but there's not really much to be said. Roland Sux is continuing his dominant form with 20 seconds clear of Tomas Lovrek, and 14 seconds adrift of that is Richard Cook. Vickers has sadly dropped down the order and has dropped off by over a minute to Alexis Weisrock, and Richard Cook being a heck of a challenger in his own right, trying his best to close between himself and Lovrek there. Actually, no, my mistake. Vickers is 14 seconds away. It is Weisrock who is a minute away from Cook. Slightly misread the deltas there. Let's see, one of the Ferraris now making its way. Wonder who that is. It's not Borgson. Borgso. That is Bonaventura. That is. You can see we started the sun peering over the horizon in sunset, and now we are deep into the night as we head to our final phase of the Monza round of the World Sprint Championship. Just over 15 minutes left to go, so the question floating on the minds of the drivers: is going to be whether they go full force and full tilt into an attack, or if they decide that now is going to be when they hold back and secure the points they do have, considering the treacherous race that they've had. I wouldn't be surprised if drivers want to play it safe a bit more. See, there's Waldridge rolling down. I think those technical issues with the pedal are just getting worse and worse and worse. Either that, or he's yielding off to make sure that he doesn't get in the way of any other cars while he's in this technically damaged state. But I have to commend the effort for still wanting to go out on track and push the car. I think also a strategic effort to make sure he gets points, which is very smart. They're playing the long game, playing a little bit smarter, even in the face of technical problems. Looking now at the final orders for the classes at large, I wonder if Yavaroni is going to go for that second spot. He's just been hanging in that middle ground and not really pressurising for a move. There have been times where he's got within a couple of tenths, but those times have been few and far between. Not really making that harder push we've been looking for. A couple of flashes coming out. This one for the LP2s. And you've got Nepotekit's Porsche also darting around from behind. So, making it a double header. Jan Veroni's going to make good use of the chaos and is going to ride the storm into second place. Great strategic move there. It lets the chaos of the other cars throw off the throw off the vantage. And you can see he's going to go to the inside on the defensive right when 40 tries to go there. So 40's forced to come back out and having to take the opposite line through the chicane. And is having a stormer of a race. That was very impressive. McLaren certainly has got a target on his back now. 40's not going to take that line down, and with 13 minutes to go, the other way to look at it is the pressure is going to be ramped up and he's going to be even more eager to go for moves. You see, that is going to be one of the Ferraris. I'm just trying to track exactly which one that was. That was Borgerson, who was kind of backing off and getting a little bit wobbly around the GT3s, but now making his way past both 40 and Iavaroni. 3 laps down, but not out of the fight. Wilson's still going to be pushing as hard as he can, wanting to take this home and see it through to the very end. With 27 cars remaining, let us know in that chat who you've enjoyed watching the most, or who you're most impressed by. Personally, I am certainly impressed with Lehtonen. He has been a really strong competitor, and he held consistent runs throughout all of the session. Also really impressed with Roland in the LMP2s, along with Thomas. Got himself up into second. Virtanen's certainly a bit of a favourite. And the hypercar side is a little bit more difficult to call. I am leaning a bit towards Bouquet, but also just Nepotech has just been relentless. It's been absolutely relentless, and just when we thought that Bouquet might be dethroning him, he comes swinging right back with a masterful strategy execution. Looks like we have got an issue with Borgso as he goes off the side of Lesmo 1. Luckily his car's fully intact. Nice and intact for this. So this is where also, having had 2 rounds under our belt, we are going to start seeing a bit of a wider strategic play for championships start to come into effect. So we had our mandatory shakedown, we had round 1, we had round 2 here tonight, and then next week is going to be Le Mans. Following that, we have Imola and then Interlagos to bring us to the halfway point of the season. At which point we'll take a season break, or week's break. When we come back, it's going to be Algarve, followed by Spa, Qatar, Kota and Sebring to finish. So a pretty stacked calendar, and Le Mans is certainly a race of attrition just as much as it is one of pace. Mindset's going to be slightly different heading into that one. Only wonder how they're going to be approaching it. Going to be one of the LMP2s there. That is going to be Vickers, still running strong in P5. In fact, leaning down the gap between himself and Weisrock. He's slowly eking away at the gap as much as he can, corner to corner. With 2 out of 10 rounds after this under the belt, there's going to be a harder play for points. Not all rounds are created equal either, but I'll leave that one a bit of a surprise. Not all rounds are created equal. So, 10 minutes on the clock. 8.5 to be precise. This is going to mean we have about 5 more laps to go, give or take. You can see 46.6 laps predicted. So eyes to the front of each field. As now it's just about bringing it home. Not even necessarily about fighting to the best position you have. Too risky to do it so late in the day, unless you know you have a surefire chance. Just bring the points home that you know you can. By saying that, Bouquet is not going to be deterred. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. It goes true for both the race and the championship. So, at the same time, if any of the drivers have had a rough start to the season, don't be disheartened, because there's still plenty of chances for a bit of a resurgence. Long, swooping corners through Monza. And a lot to look forward to throughout this calendar. I wonder if we will see any more changeovers, but I highly doubt it. Let me see it. We did see the change from Hypercar to GT3 for Rios, Wilson and Starkey. But if you make those changes too late into the season, you have effectively thrown away any chance you have at a decent championship result. Because that is effectively nullifying any... well, it's nullifying any points that you have, because you're taking it into what is effectively a different championship. As if to say, cancel my entry for Volume 1, we're going to Volume 3. Interestingly, Bonaventura into the pits with the final 5 minutes to go. So Garnham is going to get P5 on a freebie. I think Bonaventura just not having enough energy to bring it home. Wanting to avoid an issue like we saw with Goya, although with Goya's it was not his fault. Game spitting him out with basically no fuel at all. Bouquet 1.7 seconds to Nepoteket. An almost serene conclusion to the round, as by this point there's very little fighting. Everyone is just wanting to get the car back now. Vickers did have a yellow flag scenario, so he's now over 40 seconds away from Weisrock, having got within 10. Bit of a shame to see. Atush is down over 20 seconds, but still running strong in the caddy. And we were concerned prior about his temperatures, but we saw smoke coming out of the car long before he overheated and was forced to retire. I don't see any smoke. I think it might be under control now. We'll hopefully get a chance to chat with some of our racers as well. Although, been having issues with the Discord side of things, which we use for the interviews, so watch this space, folks, watch this space. Hopefully from round 4 onwards we will be having Max back as well. I've got to say, it's a little bit lonely in the commentary box without him here. I got comfortable with him in round 1 and now he's having to disappear temporarily. So after a couple of rounds we will have him back. Looks like Biddle and Wilson are having a bit of an altercation. Not sure what's going on between these two, as it looks like they're just sort of yielding back and forth to one another. Starkey currently sat in P4. A point being made that he might get P3 with penalties, depending on if Iavaroni gets a penalty for spinning in the first laps. Everything from lap 1 is reviewed, but of course, got to make it known if there is a stewarding report that you'd like to make after that point. And I know that we had a chaotic couple of laps early on. That's 1 minute 30 on the clock, meaning last laps. Well, effectively about to start the final lap. We're on board with Nepoteket as he's starting this up. I've just done a quick sound test on their Discord and it doesn't look like I'm getting any detection. So it unfortunately might be a case we'll have to forego the interviews for this evening, so I do wholeheartedly apologise to the drivers. We may have to forego the interviews due to another technical issue with Discord tonight. For context, my Discord currently right now is a permanent spinning logo, and I cannot interact with it in any way. I tried to go into a setting and that has seemingly balked it completely. I can only apologise to the drivers, and we will get it. We will get it repaired, resolved the next round, of course. Really great stuff from everyone out here tonight. But in terms of hypercar, there has been one driver that has stood head and shoulders above the rest. As we have got Nepoteket. Wait, someone is off the side of the track. I'm not sure who that was. Oh, that was Waldridge. But we have got Nepoteket coming through to Parabolica. A masterclass performance. And not too far behind him either. Oh no, saying that, I say that's Lettonen. But Nepoteket is going to be up on it all. Meanwhile, we have Lettonen, who's in a race against time. Come up to the line quick. It looks like he just took too hot into Parabolica or some kind of incident. It looks like it's a tap. But amazing job from him winning the GT3 category. And then Roland, who's coming up to Parabolica now, just being overtaken. I believe that is by Borgso there. He rejoins his group of hypercars. In fact, say Roland looks like he is briefly giving him a run for his money. But up to that front and up to the line. Roland takes the win for LMP2. Amazing job from all three classes. And now we will see who has that push to get some last positions. There's a Moffat coming in for P4. It's an amazing one from Timmy. He got emotional. Now I feel doubly bad. I feel doubly bad that we can't interview him tonight. But if this performance tonight is anything to go by, then I'm sure we will have another opportunity to chat with him very soon. You see, there you go. There's Moffat, one of the last hypercars coming through, as Marco Gelino is going to come through as well. Alexis Weisrock rolling slow as they have completed along with Thomas. And then your order is going to be locked in. But there you have it, folks. Your final order, final standings coming through as the last cars make their way across the line. Nepoteket and Bouquet, along with Patouche, complete your podium for hypercar. And that is going to be alongside Moffat, Garnham, Holstenius, Bonaventura, Gelino, and Borgso. P1 to P9, and then a little bit further down you have Borgson in P13 overall. Roland Sukes takes top honours for the LMP2s alongside Loverick and Cook as the podium spots. You can see Borgson right there in P10 for Hyper, and then it's Weisrock and Vickers. Then it's all of the GT3s. Lettonen with an astounding performance in P16 overall, but winner of the GT3 cars going to be alongside Iavaroni and Forte in second and third. Starkey and Benton, 4th and 5th, and then the rest of your order is as follows. You have Barham, Staging, Cooper, Biddle, Wilson, Di Catania, Ramsey, and Wooldridge, with unfortunate DNFs from Goya, Rios, Visuri, Ryu, Kingsbury, and Quinn with a did not start. But that's where we do it for tonight, folks. And we will have an extended chat to make up for it next week with the racers from round 2, as well as from the eventual, what will be winners of round 3. A bit of a compromise, as well as making sure that everyone gets their deserved time in the limelight. But this is where we wrap it for today. Next week, Le Mans. Needs no introduction, needs no elaboration. You know the track it is, you know what it's demanding of these drivers, and you know that everyone's going to bring their A game into the next round of this championship. So I will join you there next week. Thank you everyone so much for watching, as well as all the drivers who have been participating from the race and who unfortunately didn't make it. Hope you have a bit of a better time next week. But with that all being said, folks, I will see you next Wednesday at the same time, and good night for now. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.